And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of You Get What You Get. I'm Rickey Hampton, along with my co-host Tree McDougal and Tim Turner, coming to you on a Tuesday evening. Hope everybody's having a fantastic beginning to the week. I hope everybody has got over having their brackets ripped to shreds over the weekend. And if you told me you had Florida Atlantic in the Final Four, you lying your behind off.
Unless you went to Florida Atlantic.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, but man, we are honored here to have one of America's great writers join us, one of America's great journalists and an old friend, Jerry Bembry. Jerry, welcome to the show. How you doing, my brother?
I'm good, man. I came off a 2 weeks vacation in the other side of the world in New Zealand and in Tahiti, and I flew back. I got back on a Tuesday. I was driving to New York on Wednesday for the NCAA tournament in New York, and I'm back now. I'm about to head out to Dallas. Going to do the Dallas Houston run for the women's Final Four and the men's Final Four. So it's going to be a really busy week upcoming, but I'm really looking forward to it. It should be an exciting week of basketball.
Of course, Jerry's been a longtime writer and producer and editor at ESPN, and now formerly the Undefeated, but now Anscape.
Don't ask. Anscape. It's called Anscape now. Yeah.
Okay.
What was that, Jerry? You about to start something, and then
I was about to say anything.
okay.
Let me just say I love the Undefeated. So
well, Anscape is the same content as the Undefeated. Right. Different name, same content. So if you love what you read in the Undefeated, you will love what you read in Anscape.
Absolutely did, and still do. Just wanted to Tree, why don't you start us off there with just Jerry?
Well, first, it's nice to meet you,
Jerry.
Nice
to meet you as well, Tree. I know these guys for a minute, but nice to meet you as well.
So you got all the stories about them that I don't know, so that's good.
Yeah, we can talk offline about that. Yeah,
absolutely. I've been reading a little bit about your background, which is so impressive. But I understand you did a documentary about Coppin State. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I covered the Coppin State basketball team during their glory days in the 1990s, and as I witnessed what they did and on the way from 89 when I first started covering them, when they were just in their infancy, to 1997 when they won a game in the NCAA tournament, I always thought it was, this would be a good video project. And it just kind of sat dormant for years. I even did some of the interviews in a documentary, if you watched it, are interviews that I shot myself. And I mic'd Fang Mitchell on the sidelines myself and had all this content for years. It just kind of sat there. And during the COVID shutdown, my daughter knew I had that stuff. She's a producer, and she said, Daddy, we should bring back this Coppin State documentary. It'd be, we should get back on it. It'd be really good. And so we wrote a pitch, and ESPN said, oh, we love this, and we both directed a director alongside my daughter, which is the highlight of my career, On in Coppin documentary. It's narrated by Felicia Snoop Pearson from The Wire. And if you haven't seen it, check it out because it's a really great story about an HBCU team. It's a deep dive into an HBCU program, and I enjoyed working on it. I was really happy the way it came out, and it's check it out if you haven't seen it.
That's a great deal of humility on your part. Like with my daughter, she does films. Type thing. I'm like, your daughter's an Oscar winner, sir.
Yeah.
The Summer of Soul.
Summer of Soul. Oh my God.
You look at that, I'm quite sure you're extremely still proud about that project. And
I'm really happy. When she first took that gig, it's funny how things come to you. She was offered an opportunity to work on Summer of Soul, and it was a different project as well. And she chose Summer of Soul because it was going to be, working with a lot of people of color, and she felt really passionate about the project, and it was a great choice. I mean, I think the other project may have paid more money, but this project was a chance to do a meaningful story with people of color. And Questlove was the director of that. It was brilliant. I remember going to the early screening before they released it in the theaters and watching it and saying, "Wow, this is really good." And to see them win at Sundance, I was tuning in. It was still COVID time, shut down, but I watched Sundance at home, and I saw when they won the jury award, and then to go to the Academy Awards. I didn't get a chance to go. I was in LA at the time, but I was at a watch party that Disney sponsored, and she was there and met everybody. And for them to actually win was just really tremendous. So yeah, just a really proud dad. And now my daughter works at ESPN as well. After the documentary, they kept her on. And so she's a producer at ESPN and doing her own thing, and is doing a great job. So I'm really proud of her. I remember when she was a young girl and I used to work at ESPN magazine, and I used to take her to work with me. And, she wanted to be a journalist, a writer. And I told her, I said, hey, you don't want to be a writer. The business is kind of turning over right now. And I said, go into storytelling in a different way. So she decided to do video production. She's worked at Discovery and, Vice TV. There's a long list of places that she's worked, and Summer of Soul was the first feature film that she worked on, and they went to win an Academy Award on the first feature film. That's really special.
That is absolutely fantastic. Hey, Jerry, going back to the Coppin State team, we just had the passing of the great Willis Reed, and I know you're a huge Knicks fan. Willis coming out of Grambling University back in the day, and there is a strong legacy of HBCU players making their mark in the NBA, from Willis to Earl to Pearl to here in Detroit. We had Ben Wallace, Hall of Famer. Man, and then we talk about the impact of Deion Sanders and what he brought to Jackson State, that whole thing. But it always seems to me that basketball would be the avenue for an HBCU to really make a big splash on the national level. And of course, we had Cheney State actually do that back in the day. But on the men's side, do you ever see a time that could happen where we could get 2 or 3 really just super players and build around that at a HBCU?
It's funny. You would think now, you look at the men's Final Four and the teams that are there. Yeah, Florida Atlantic, no one really expected them. San Diego State, no one expected them. Maybe UConn, they've been a national power before. And so you have this new look in the college basketball scene. There were so many upsets in the NCAA tournament, and there's so much turnover now. So players can go wherever they want, and they're trying to find happiness. And the time is coming for HBCUs to do that. Really, you can get some top guys. What's going to deter them from going to an HBCU, I think, is facilities. They don't have the facilities that really compare to like a Florida State or Maryland. That's top-notch facilities. I'm familiar with some HBCU spots, and it doesn't compare there. But if you got this NIL money now, so players can be compensated to be really good. If an HBCU can come up with some NIL boosters to help get some money to these schools and get these guys to come in together, it's possible. This is the time now with all these new look teams coming through for that to happen. So, I would love to see that. It's a long shot. It's a struggle, but the time is now. And so if they can get some NIL money to get some of these guys together, they can build some winning programs.
Well, you talk about the hodgepodge nature of the men's Final Four, but you have the thoroughbreds really on the women's side. And Friday night basketball is going to be tremendous up there in Dallas for the women's, for those semifinal games. South Carolina and Iowa. You have 2 of the best players on the planet there. You have, South Carolina's 34-0 or 33-0, a juggernaut. I mean, just talk about that. I'm quite sure you've been watching. Matter of fact, I'm thinking you were watching that the other night when I texted you to come on the show. You had one TV on that with a Knicks on the other one.
That's right. Absolutely. And I had the volume up on the women's game and not my Knicks. But
yeah,
the women's Final Four, I mean, the men's Final Four, you don't have a number 1 seed. I don't think you have a number 2 seed. You may have a number 3 seed. I don't know. But if you look at the women's side, you have 2 number 1s in South Carolina, Virginia Tech. Iowa's a number 2. LSU is a number 3 seed, and they were a top 5 team for most of the season. So it's going to be a fascinating Final Four. The Iowa-South Carolina matchup, you have defending national champions, the national player of the year last year in the League of Boston against Iowa, one of the highest scoring teams in college basketball with Caitlin Clark, who is just a straight baller. I mean, she has range up to the logo, as you can see on the screen there. She can pass the ball, she can rebound. So I'm really looking forward to that matchup. And on the other side, you have Angel Reese for LSU, who transferred from Maryland and became an All-American and really helped raise that team to new heights. So they're playing Virginia Tech, and they have Kenny Brooks, African-American male coach who has lifted that team to the Final Four. So you have two African-American coaches in the Final Four on the women's side, Kenny Brooks and Dawn Staley. And we love to see that in the final, Kenny Brooks and Dawn Staley going against each other with a black coach being assured of winning the national championship. So I'm looking forward to it. I had a choice a couple weeks ago, cover the men's tournament, cover the women's tournament. I chose the men. But I have credentials for both. So I'm flying into Houston. I'm going to drive 3 hours to Dallas to go see that women's doubleheader on Friday. I'm going to drive back to Houston for the doubleheader on Saturday. And I might drive back for the championship game on Sunday afternoon. So I'm going to be worn out, but I'm looking forward to seeing some really great college basketball this weekend.
It's good that we caught you now before the trip.
Oh my gosh. I just came from, again, the other side of the world, and I'm just exhausted right now. But, this is a magical time of the year. And I've never been to a women's Final Four, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what that atmosphere. I've been to many men's Final Fours, but never a women's. So I'm really looking forward to that situation there.
Jared, not that you've ever dismissed women's basketball, but clearly the game has gone to another level. And when you look at what's happening in the WNBA and on the collegiate level, and what do you think Dawn Staley's role has been in all of that happening?
Dawn Staley helped shake up the power in the sport. Gino had, he had it on lock with what he was doing at Connecticut, and Stanford always had a good team. And he had other programs that Notre Dame had a good team over years. So other programs are really doing well, but Dawn is attracting some of the top players in the nation right now to consider South Carolina. You have a Hall of Fame. She was a Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame coach, Olympian, and now she's the best women's coach in college basketball. And she should be commended for the job that she's done. And, she has good kids. Those kids are solid citizens that play for her. You're never going to hear any problems with those kids off the court. And that's because they have such a positive role model in Dawn Staley there. So I think she should be commended. It's funny, someone on Twitter said that you should consider Dawn Staley for the Temple University job. And a buddy of mine replied, why would the top women's coach in college basketball consider taking a job that takes a miracle to lift up? Why would you even consider that? So, if you offer her one of the top jobs in men's college basketball, but she's not going to take, some mediocre Temple job just to say, I'm the first women's coach to coach men's college basketball. So, I think Dawn Staley is happy where she's at. And, she deserves all the accolades she gets for the success that she's had.
And on top of everything you said, she is not afraid to let you know how she feels on issues either. And especially when everything was going on with Brittany Griner, the way the WNBA and so many in women's athletics spoke out in her behalf was outstanding.
Yeah, when you reach a level of success, you have few fears about speaking your mind. And, Dawn has always been successful, so she's never been afraid to speak her mind. I'm glad she has. I love how she acknowledges some of the greats, like, during the Super Bowl, she wore a Randall Cunningham jersey to a game. Recently, she wore a Cheney State jersey to a game. And, she's young people say she's a real one. So she's definitely a real one. I love Dawn Staley. I love to see, what she's doing down in South Carolina. And, she's made that state a destination for basketball. Who would have ever thought that until she came back there and took over that program?
Well, you mentioned
Jerry,
Brittany Griner. Go ahead, Tree.
yeah, no, I was just thinking, Jerry, I was reading an article earlier, and I can't remember where I saw it, but it was describing the different coaches and about this upcoming tournament. And in one, they described Dawn as, just she's talked about too much. And then another coach, they talked about her outfits. And I forgot the name of that coach. She said her, and that's how they describe these coaches. And I read it, I thought they don't describe men coaches that way. What are your thoughts on that?
Listen, when Gino was winning at Connecticut, they spoke about him all the time. They still speak about Gino. So you can't say you're talking about Dawn Staley too much. I mean, when you win, you take a team that's undefeated, you win a national championship. They probably should have won the last two. I think COVID shut down the season the year before last. So they probably would have won that as well. So, yeah, I can't speak about her enough. And, her outfits, I mean, wear a Cheney State jersey. Man, that's great. I love the acknowledgement to the past. And I really don't know how you can talk about her like that.
Well, I don't think it's so much it was her outfit. It was more the Kim Mulkey at LSU.
Kim. I'm sorry.
Her crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But see, as an aside to that, though, I'm rooting against LSU for the mere fact that she coached Brittany Griner, and she wouldn't say boo about Brittany when she was over there in Russia.
Yeah, I don't know the reasons why Kim didn't speak out in support, because Brittany Griner helped her career at Baylor and the success that she had. So. In terms of the outfits, I'm not going to comment. I thought about Patti LaBelle for some reason when I saw that outfit with the feathers on the side. You know how Patti stands on
Lady Marmalade.
Yeah. Right.
Sister Soul.
I thought, why they're describing her by her outfits. I mean, I understand that's what, that's kind of her thing. But I thought, do they, other than Tim talking about Shannon Sharp's sweater, you don't hear a lot about describing men and men coaches in their clothes. So I just thought it was kind of funny.
I think with Kim, it's she's got a designer she's working with who's giving her some looks, and Kim she puts on what the designer gives her, and
that was on purpose.
It's on purpose, and I'm sure there might be some. Coaches don't get NIL, but they get some sponsorship. It's like a male coach. Pat Riley, when he was a coach, he had always wore Hugo Boss suits, right? Boss would outlet them. So, and so it's they present you with a look, and you agree or you don't agree to wear the look, and it brings some attention to her on the sidelines, and I don't mind that. I mean, people have been different. Dennis Rodman was a different player on the court with the hair and everything, and so you see some of these. I'm not saying coaches, but some of these male personalities on TV, and they wear these different outfits, and he's like, why, but hey, I don't mind at all. As long as you get the job done, that's what it's all about. Get the job done.
And that's the thing with Kim and LSU, because you look at her, this is her second year at LSU, and she hasn't been in the Final Four. She spent more than 20 years at Baylor, 3 national championships, and it seems like that's enough to get you attention as opposed to the other stuff. But I mean, she's a great coach, evidently. I mean, like 2 years, they had 9 new players this year, and she won with them.
Yeah, and give Angel Reese a lot of the credit, transferring from Maryland, and that was a big surprise for me because she was a solid player at Maryland, but she decides that she wants something different, goes to LSU, and I did a story in Angel back in January, I believe, and I went to a game, and it was a sellout crowd against Tennessee. It was just such a tremendous atmosphere for women's sports, and the women are outdrawing the men at LSU, and that says a lot for how much the women's basketball sport has grown over the years. UConn has long been, drawing better than the men. South Carolina draws better than the men. Yeah. So I love to see it. I actually enjoy, I hate to say this, but I enjoy watching women's basketball more so than men's college basketball right now.
Yeah, for years, I covered Tennessee men and women during my days at the National Banner, and the women regularly outdrew the men back then when Pat Summit was the coach. But hey, Jared, because we know you're on a busy schedule, man. So I want to keep moving because I know you got to get out of here. And I want to get your thoughts uh, you talked about transfers, and you've seen all these upsets on the men's side of the bracket. Do you think that the transfer rules and has played a part in this, where these teams are coming in and knocking off the so-called giants? You know, if Farley Dickinson played Purdue, if that was a 7-game series, I'm taking Purdue to win that series 4-1. But it's not, and they lost. And it happened. We've seen it happen numerous times as these teams have made their way to the Final Four. What do you think is playing a role in some of these upsets?
This is the new norm. It's going to happen every year now. I think it happened to an extent in the past because with the one and done rule, schools like Kentucky, Duke, other top programs, they would get a kid, they would get him there for a year. He would be a superstar, then he would leave. So you really don't, you can't really build that continuity of having guys play together for 4 years and just stay together and you know when you're going to back cut, you know where he's going to shoot the ball at. You lose that when you have these one and done kids, and that's why probably Coach Calipari has only got one national title, I believe, and that's it. And all the success he's had, all the NBA guys he has put into the first round of the NBA draft. And I think that's a lot to do with it. You don't have that continuity there. And so these smaller programs, these mid-major schools, they have that. And now you have a situation where, you know, kids transfer easily. So you don't have to wait a year. You can just go and play immediately right now, right? So that evens the playing field a little bit now. So the top program, some kid might be the 9th, 10th guy on the team. Like, I'm not playing. I'm leaving. And they may have the intent to build him up for the future, but he's going to be the college players now are impatient to an extent, and they just want to play immediately. So they're just going to bounce. So I think we're going to see a lot more of these upsets. We don't have a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament Final Four for the first time in history. This is a funny story. I spoke to a couple friends today, and I asked them, I said, name me 3 women for the women's Final Four: Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Angel Reese. You know, they named a couple. I said, now name me a player, 3 players from the men's Final Four. And they're like, and so I mean, really, so and it's I cover the sport. And it's hard for me to even think about it. And so you don't have these stars out there in the college scene, particularly in this Final Four right now. We have all the stars in the women's side, and that's because the top teams aren't there. The players are moving left and right, and you don't have that continuity. So I think this is a new norm. I think it's great for college basketball. Gets more teams involved, and I'd love to see the underdog win it all. I would love to see Florida Atlantic go on and win the whole thing. You know, it would be just great basketball story. So, and I think let's get used to it right now. That's why when you're talking about HBCUs earlier, there's an opportunity for HBCUs to get some guys in and build and go far in the tournament now. Not just win one game, but win multiple games in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, on the men's side, you got you got a 4 in UConn, 2 5s, Miami and San Diego State, and a 9, Florida Atlantic.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, usually we'll see those upsets early, but we know that there's going to be a North Carolina in the final, or there's going to be a Kansas in the final. Number 1 seeds. There's going to be a couple number 1s after they shake up their early rounds. But nah, the number 1s are long gone now. And now you really need a program to find out who's in the Final Four, particularly this year.
Real quick, you got like 3 minutes. Your Knicks. You guys are number 5. You'd be playing number 4 Cleveland if the season ended today.
Feel good about my Knicks. 2 years ago, we made the playoffs. A year ago, we laid an egg. You know, so I'm really excited about the direction this team has made. I think Jalen Brunson was a big pickup. I think adding Josh Hart by the trade deadline, that was another big pickup for them. You know, they play about 7 to 8 deep right now. They seem like they really like each other. And I'm really happy where they are. Cleveland's going to be a tough matchup in the first round. I don't know if they can beat them. But the Knicks are a team that, you know, they might shock you. You know, it's a team that you really don't want to play in the postseason. And so I'm really happy where we are. and I'm happy to see where we're going in the future.
Hey, before you go, tell me,
Say yes.
is it a foul?
Oh, well, let's see that again. Let me see this play again. Hold on a second. Oh, yeah, that's a foul. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He grabbed him on the hip, so it's a foul. You got to call it. I mean, they let physical contact go that entire game, but you can't do that. I mean, if you want to really play defense in that play like that, just keep your hands off the guy. Challenge the shot. But you can't hold a guy down. That's impeding his jumping ability, throws him off a little bit. You just need to throw a shooter off slightly to really alter his shot. And that's exactly what happened. He had a hand on his hip.
He was in the air, so a slight nudge.
Yeah. The hand is on. If he doesn't have that hand on his hip, it's not a foul. If it's slight contact up here, I'm not going to call it. But that hand right there holding him back, that's a foul. You holding the man down. So I don't know if he would have made that shot.
In real time, though. Come on. It's in real, because he sold it. Because he didn't get pushed that hard to fall like he did.
Yeah, but you know what?
But he's in the air.
You're saying in real time, don't call it, but give the referee credit for seeing it in real time and making that call. Yeah.
Oh, Jerry, I'm all for the call. I said it was a foul, but my deal is he didn't. Inertia was not all of that.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we don't know how he was, and you're gonna sell it. We all play pickup ball. We sell those fouls and pickup ball. We get hit a little bit and then we just fall over like we got shot. So yeah, we're gonna sell it.
You're making me think of Miami in '97.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. He sold it. He got a free throw in. They go to the Final Four. I know the Creighton coach is unhappy, but yeah, you can't let that go.
I tell you though, in that game, I love watching the kid. Well, going back to the Kansas State game, Noel, and you talking about bringing in a guy making an impact. The impact he had on that team, especially in that Michigan State game, 20 points and 19 assists. I mean, that was just so much fun to watch.
I've been to many college games live over the course of my career. I always said that the Coppin State game over South Carolina was the best game I ever saw, just because, most 15-2 matchups in that situation, the 15 is winning on a game-winning jumper at the buzzer or whatever. Coppin State blew out South Carolina in that game. I mean, they just wore them out. And we mentioned them before. If they played them 100 times, if they played South Carolina 100 times, they may have beaten them 95 times. That's how good that Coppin State team was over South Carolina.
Wow.
But I mean, they just had the advantages in that game. South Carolina, look at the dynamics. They had the number 6 team in the country, but name a guy from that team. They didn't have a superstar. They didn't have a superstar at all. And Coppin had some solid players. Coppin's big man was better than the South Carolina big man. And that's why they won that game. But the Kansas State-Michigan State game was the best college game I've ever attended live. It was just unbelievable, the shot making in that game. People weren't missing clutch. Marquise Noel, I hope there's an NBA team that gives him a shot because he at 5'8", they list him at 5'8", he's really about 5'6". He was able to dominate that game unlike any small guard I've seen since Muggsy Bogues back in the day at 5'3". And Muggsy dominated from a defensive end. This kid was dominating from an offensive end, finding the right pass, hitting some shots. And I just hope somebody gives him a shot. I would love to see him get an opportunity to play in the NBA. That's his long time dream. And I hope he gets to realize that dream.
I'll let you go after this, but I was watching it here in Detroit, and they looked in the stands and they showed Mateen Cleaves and Charlie Bells, the Flintstones, and Isaiah was sitting there, and he's kind of just looking. Everybody's going crazy over this guy, Isaiah, who was a little man, not that little. He was like, man, I used to do that all the time. I mean, he was really not like.
Yeah. But after the game at the when Noel was sitting at the podium, Isaiah popped in the interview room and just pointed at him and just applauded because he really appreciated what he saw, just like everybody in the Madison Square Garden at night. Again, I've never seen a small guy dominate. I mean, some of the passes he threw were just unbelievable. And you look at his body of work during the entire season and just the eyesight, the vision that he has to set guys up was just incredible. And I would have loved to see them go to the Final Four. One, to see, him get an opportunity to shine, and and another was to see his coach in his first year, black coach, to get an opportunity to get to the Final Four. So I was really disappointed that they didn't make it. And I hope Tank can turn around that program, continue what he did in his first year at Kansas State, and keep it going next year.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, thank you so much, man, for checking in with us, brother.
Hey, listen, I'm happy to be here, and appreciate the time, guys. And I'm sorry to glance out. I'm watching this All-American game on one side and watching you on the other side. That this is a time of year we just get consumed with sports. And
let our viewers know where they can see your great work.
You can go to anscape.com. Today I had a story about Randall from the Knicks, and he raised $800,000 for the Earl Monroe School. Renaissance School in the Bronx, New York. That's a school that it's in its second year now. And so what they do is they set up a curriculum where kids are prepared for life in basketball, not as players, but as statisticians, journalists. They prepare you for the careers associated with basketball, not the playing of basketball. And so Randall donated $800,000 for the 3-pointers that he hit during the season. He committed to a number, and he had a lot of sponsors, match the number. And there's a kid from the Dalton School in New York City who decided, hey, I want to get on this too. So he decided to set up a website and have people donate for every 3-pointer he made during the season. So he gave them a check for $12,000 as well today. So that's a story that's on the anscape.com website right now.
Thank you,
I
brother.
did read that story. Great piece.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
That was Jerry Bembry of Anscape.
Thank you, Jerry.
Take care.
Really appreciate him. Great conversation with that young man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was talking about not knowing the current college basketball players and how they, rotate out to different schools, and then when they are drafted, that explains why I don't know who's playing in the NBA. Yeah. Because I'm like, who's that? And they're like, I don't know. But I used to follow a player, from when they freshman year to senior year, and then watch them be drafted. Now I have no idea who I'm watching.
Right. I mean, I don't even start watching college basketball to the tournament, because I know I'm going to see the winners at least for 2 or 3 weeks. You don't get that during the regular season that you're going to see the kids for that long or get to know their names. But it was like an NBA game the other night. It was last night or Sunday night I was watching, and he had like about 7 Kentucky basketball players on both squads. And it's like, Calipari does a great job of getting these kids to the pros, but, they don't do anything in Kentucky, and you don't know who they are, except for a handful of them.
And you know what? It just dawned on me. He's just won one title.
Yeah, one title. Because those kids come for 1 year. Because it's the only sport. I wonder why it's the only sport where they say it's mandatory. You have to go to school a year. I think in baseball they say you have to go 3. 2. You have to be. You can be drafted your junior year. So I guess it's 3. But they don't do that for football or any other sport or golf or anything else. But they put those kind of restrictions on those kids.
Yeah, that's really something. When I think of that program, I'm surprised he's not under fire. And you mentioned I don't really tune in to the end of the season now, and I've become that way too, Tree, because the regular season used to have a lot more meaning before the tournament expanded to 64 teams. And now, I think the Big Ten might have had 7 or 8 teams get in there, with you can go 18 and 12 and you're going to be in the tournament. Back in the day, you'd have been in the NIT.
Right.
You wouldn't have been in this in this tournament.
Right. And I was all about the ACC, and then they start changing around. And so now I'm like, I don't know who's in, who's out, who's once they change conferences or add teams. I'm just kind of
Syracuse in the ACC, Notre Dame in the ACC. What kind of trash is that? You used to Tobacco Road, North Carolina State, Duke, Wake. You know, that
Yes.
kind of stuff right there. Maryland.
Tech,
Maryland's
yeah.
in the ACC. Georgia Tech, you know.
Well, you're about to have Notre Dame, USC
And
and UCLA
UCLA in the
in
Big
the
Ten.
Big Ten.
How is that? How is that? A team, you know, three time zones away is
Come
in your
on,
conference.
man. Come on, man.
I guess it's times are changing, but I guess money as well.
Oh, that's
doing
exactly
that.
what it is.
It is.
Dollar bill, y'all.
So again, back in my day, we had these teams and these conferences.
Back in my day,
And that
they were
was that.
geographically, the SEC there was no school from Texas in the SEC because you're going to have 2 Texas schools in the SEC coming next year.
Yeah.
That's just,
yeah.
you know.
And we had to walk from Texas A&M
Yes.
to SMU.
Back in my, like I said, when I moved I used to live in Houston, and when I got there was the Southwest Conference with, you know, all these Texas schools plus Arkansas and Oklahoma. That was it. You know, and everybody's clustered together. But now it's like wherever we can, you know, get a flight. That's the kind of craziness we have going on there. But yeah, we should be having like I said, Friday night's gonna be great with women's basketball. Saturday's gonna be okay with guys. I should have asked Jerry who he thought was gonna win and what his deal is. But yeah, I can see him, you know, rooting for the Virginia Tech South Carolina final, where you have 2 African Americans as head coaches in that. And then, you know, if it's Florida Atlantic versus San Diego, well, it can't be. It's Florida Atlantic versus like Miami or something like that, where it'll be like the championship of South Florida, because I think Florida Atlantic's in Boca Raton, and then you have Miami. You know.
Well, what's your prediction? Who's going to win?
Oh,
For the men?
easy. I think the team with the most points at the end is going to be the winner. I'm going with that. No,
That's a good bet right there.
I'm going to go with. I think Miami's going to win. There's something about that team.
I like Miami too.
I really like them a lot because those kids, there's something about the way they look and how they play. They are relentlessly fast up and down the floor, and they're smart kids. I know toward the end of the game, the last game they played, was it Texas? Where they came back.
Yeah, they were down 13 to Texas.
Yeah, I mean, and they played really with their heads down the stretch. They knew, you know, situational basketball. They knew what to do. They weren't all helter-skelter. They were really under control. It was like a mayhem under control, and that was exciting to watch those guys. So I am pulling for the Canes to win it all. If it can't be anybody but UConn, I put it that way.
Well, you guys know we got the start of Major League Baseball this week. This is a great time. You got Major League Baseball opening weekend coming up. First game is Thursday, I believe, and Final Four, and then the Masters the following week. So spring is it's in the air for most of you guys. I'm in Detroit, so we still got maybe 3 more months before we get spring here, weather-wise, because we don't get spring till it's June.
Right.
Better late than never.
Here,
for 2 weeks, but then it's over. But you talking about the Masters. I was in a meeting the other day because I work out at the airport, and I was like, "Yeah, so go ahead and put out that notice now. You will not be able to find a rental car that week, the week of the Masters, because everybody's taking every car to Augusta. Like everybody flies in and then drives over. If you don't have a corporate jet or something that takes you into there, as the high rollers do. So it's going to be a busy time down here for sure."
Yeah. Hey, but one of the storylines I want to see in baseball is how Aaron Judge is going to follow up this season from last year's. What he's going to be able to do. Your thoughts on that? Any thoughts on that?
I got no thoughts on that, Tim.
Okay. Listen, my thoughts are not politically correct.
Well, he hit 62 home runs.
Year that Aaron Judge gets a bunch of balls in his ear, because it seemingly the other team seemed like we're rooting for him to break the American League record for home runs. Nobody knocked him on his butt once, and it's like, is this a competition? What's the deal? What's that about? I don't think it should be about him following it up. I think it should be about, are the Yankees going to win this year? that kind of thing. Or the Padres, they supposedly have like the best lineup in baseball. Can they overtake the Dodgers? The Dodgers always win out there. Is that going to happen? The Braves have a murderer's row, but will they have enough pitching to sustain them? There's like a ton of milestones that are out there. I mean, there are a bunch of great storylines throughout the year.
Well, yeah, because the Angels got the two best players in baseball,
and they faced off against each other. And I'm quite sure Shohei has let Mike Trout, like we thought it was going to happen. Ohtani was going to face Trout with the game on the line, and Trout struck out.
And they had
I can't participate in this conversation
last year. Say what, Tree?
I can't participate in this baseball conversation.
Well, you're a baseball fan. You're a Braves fan from way back.
Yeah, so Braves, yes. Other people, who that?
Yeah, well,
I'm just gonna let you go.
We'll keep it moving. I didn't see the story until Tim. You sent the notes out today. Jim Trotter, outstanding writer for the NFL.com, the NFL media. But NFL media did not have his contract renewed, and Jim is saying it's because he has questioned Commissioner Goodall about the lack of diversity in the front office of the National Football League. That he's been a critic of the hiring practices in the NFL the past couple of years, and the NFL has responded by not renewing his contract. Jim, a Howard graduate, just outstanding football writer, been around a long time. Do you guys think it's anything to this?
I think, anytime you openly criticize, you run the risk of getting the boot. So, I mean, we don't know what their decision is, but it would appear that might have something to do with it.
It looks like it on the face of that too, because it seems like, and his argument was, you have a league that's like 67% black, and you don't have anybody that look like the players help tell those stories.
Yeah,
and what's
a legitimate argument, Tim?
And it is very legitimate argument, because there's not I think that even though people want to say they're colorblind and this, that, and the other, there's a particular sensitivity you have to people who you have relative experiences with. And I think that he was not off base in bringing that up. But, it's like, he jumped over several steps and brought it up to the man on top. Yeah. So I said, I don't question the wisdom of that. I just wanted to know, they always give lip service and saying, we've come a long way, but we still got a lot of work to do. And the next question, what's stopping you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you're the guy. You can just get up at any time now and say, we want to hire these people. Find me qualified people for these positions to help tell these stories.
And we've talked about on the show before, a lot of this, the NFL is throwing money at some of these issues. They're giving out money for some of these issues, which is so-called social justice. I often wonder what is social justice. Just give me justice. Just give me the regular justice everybody else gets, and I'll be happy. But like we talked about, the stuff in the end zone,
the stuff that helps end racism.
End racism.
I would say typically you would measure, if you're throwing money at it, how are you measuring its value? What are you doing? Are you just throwing money out there just to say that you did it? Surely they got enough money to throw around, but are you making an impact? It would be the question. And how are you measuring that? Are you just doing it for show?
I think, Tree, that they're doing it just like they do the stuff they put in the end zone. We all need to work together.
That's nice.
unity. Yeah, just
Let's get some T-shirts.
yeah.
Yeah, t-shirts, get some koozies.
hats.
You go. It's
But-
good to give those logos and those slogans, but any kind of material advances there's a challenge. And again, you don't tell billionaires how to spend their money,
Yeah.
and that's the bottom line, And there's some. And speaking of billionaires, I understand there are 2 acceptable bids for the Redskins, and they all meet Daniel Snyder's floor of selling price of $6 billion for the Washington Commanders. And part of one of those groups is Magic Johnson. So it's gonna be interesting to see if they go with a celebrity bid or there's a connect. Well, and to see if they're going to be really isolationists. And I'm just, I'm not don't want to cast aspersions to him, but the other bid is $6 billion bid is from a Canadian billionaire. You got an American group and a Canadian group.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, these guys seem like they're uber patriots.
I mean, come on.
Magic Johnson's with the American group.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
We shall see.
yeah, for real. We have to see how that's gonna shake out. So
Yeah.
we'll
What
see with that.
What do you guys think about the rules change for Major League Baseball with the pitching?
Which one?
The pitch timer.
Yeah, that's crazy right there. That to me, that's just
Well, okay, explain the rule. I'm not up on this.
Okay. Go ahead, Tree.
I was going to say 15 seconds with the bases empty and 20 seconds when runners on. The hitter gets 1 timeout per plate appearance. Must be in the batter's box with 8 seconds left. Yeah, I'm trying to understand it myself.
It's like they're gonna rush you up in there. I can see people getting hit and hurt playing ball, trying to get up there and do that. I can see some pitchers trying to manipulate the clock, take advantage of if a guy steps into the batter's box, being quick pitched. What are you going to say about stuff like that? We're trying to speed up the game, and they're talking about how it reduced the length of the games in the minors last year by 25 minutes.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, why don't they just cut out that 7-inning stretch music?
Yeah. No more. Thank God it's the country boy.
They reduced it 25 whole minutes, huh? I mean,
how much time were they spending before?
Well, there's some guys like this guy. Nomar Garciaparra. Between each pitch, he would get up there and check his batting gloves, do a dance, do the Macarena, and then get up there to hit.
Nomar.
But there's the guy Mike Hargrove. They called him the human rain delay because of his
ritual.
His rituals before he would hit. So it's like people like that who take advantage of it. I can understand them wanting to speed it up, but you got that rule change. You got what they've increased. The shift is not going to be like it was last year, where you had the whole team on one side of the field. Essentially, you can only do it in situational things. You can't just arbitrarily deploy it. And I think the third one was like something like bigger bases. And
yeah.
And so you can only throw over to the base so many times. So that's pretty much telling the runner could go at any time after that. It's going to make it really difficult on catchers. I see balks going up.
And they're still putting people on second base. They're still putting them on second base. Okay.
Yeah, for extra innings, they're putting the guy on second base to start. The last person, the last out of the inning before is at second base. And then they started like that because that's supposed to not have all these like 20 inning games and that kind of stuff.
I guess I'll be watching to see how it plays. No pun intended. Plays out.
Yeah. It's going to be.
We just got a couple more minutes left on the show. I wanted to bring up the situation with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Lamar came out and said he asked for a trade on March 2nd. Yesterday at the owners' meeting in Arizona, John Harbaugh, the coach of the Ravens, said Lamar is going to be our quarterback and talked about how much he loves him, how great he is, and he can't live without him. But they have Lamar on an exclusive franchise tag, and I'm wondering, is he going to sign that tag, which will pay him $32 million, or is he going to sit the year out, or is anybody going to work a trade for him? And why do you guys think there hasn't been a lot of interest in Lamar Jackson, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL?
Tim, don't talk about his mother.
I will not talk about his mama representing him. But I'm going to say
Yes.
it has more to do with, I think people are trying to rein in fiscal sanity. I want to sanitize it by saying it like that. Everybody's still not crazy about the deal because Lamar wants the deal similar to that of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to get that money. Nobody's going to get that money. You know, and for a franchise quarterback, this guy, he is worth the contract that Deshaun Watson got. He's worth it. Deshaun Watson has won nothing. Lamar Jackson's the league MVP and has won playoff games. So it's flipped around the wrong way. And I think they're trying to make an example out of this guy. And it's wrong because you're messing with his money and his livelihood. And hey, I'm not going out there to get hurt on something that's less than what I think I'm worth. He knows his worth. Now, will Baltimore pay them that? Maybe not. Somebody will.
Tree, do you think he doesn't have an agent? Tree, do you think he needs an agent?
I think he has one, which is his mother, right? But if you're saying, and again, I don't know if she's,
Yeah, I guess it's not her. I guess she's an advisor. I don't think she's his agent in an official.
Okay, then yes, he needs an agent.
capacity.
Yes, he needs an agent then. I think because it may take that emotion out of it if you can help try to think about it from a business standpoint. They can negotiate better on your behalf. So I would say that he would need one.
Tell you what, if he played the Jets for 17 games, because he is crushing them right here. And these highlights. The Jets have no answer for him in this game.
Tim, do you think he needs an agent?
Yeah, I do. I think they need to. I think the Ravens don't respect her negotiating for him. And it's like there's an old adage, it's like it's a guy who doesn't, a person who represents himself in court is a fool. And I don't want to say this guy's a fool, but it's like, dude, you got to get somebody who knows, what the landscape is and what you can get out of these people. Granted, maybe he wants to play maybe he will play on this. But if I'm him and I'm being forced to play for $32 million, that sounds crazy to even say being forced for $32 million. There will be no more negotiating with the Ravens. It'd be like, I'm gonna play this season, have the best season of my life, and don't even think about talking to me. I don't even want to see the owner, the GM, and nobody the entire 17 games. Don't come to me. You had your chance. And have a great season.
It's a little bit of ego as well, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's no doubt about it. But I think he needs some kind of representation, not because he can't. I think it would help in terms of being a buffer, because I'm sure one of the concerns they have is, Lamar, you hadn't been healthy in 2 seasons for us. And, some feelings can be hurt in these negotiations. Lamar, you can't do this, you can't do that. You don't want to tell your guy about his shortcomings, but you would easily tell his agent, this is what he needs to work on, and all of that.
Why wouldn't you do that?
Well, you could. I mean, he's a grown man. He's scared to take criticism.
But you could be all up in your feelings too. I'm thinking about, you got mama mad and he's mad. Mama's saying, baby, come on, let's go somewhere else. They don't respect you. Come on, let's do this.
Yeah.
You got to find somebody who's going to be more level-headed and say, look, this is
that buffer between you and the
right
biz and the team.
And it's how jacked up baseball is. Baseball has an arbitration deal, whereas They have a number where they want to pay you. You give a number, and you have an impartial judge decide who's right. But at the same time, your team is.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Your team is saying bad things about you.
Is there something else I can?
Siri, quiet.
You get an assist, is what it sounds like.
Your team is saying bad things about you in the arbitration process. And my feelings are going to be hurt even if I win. He said, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you're awful, you're awful, you're awful. So it's like, so you didn't want to give me money and you talked about me. You know, this is pretty much how this thing is with the franchise tag. It's like, we'll give you this money. We're not going to give you all the money because we think that, you're not worth that. And that's a problem.
Well, I think a lot of this goes back on the NFL Players Association, which has never been able to
the weakest union ever.
To establish itself in terms of getting these guys guaranteed money and things like that. So Damaris Barclay is checking in. Love your content. Glad you're back. Please upload more videos teaching the history of Black athletes. One love. Thank you, my brother. We appreciate you checking us out, and stay tuned. We will continue to have stuff coming each and every week here on You Get What You Get. We appreciate you, Demarius. Yeah, I mean the NFL Players Association, they got to step it up, man. They've signed some bad deals, and treat the money the NFL is generating is through the roof. What did you say the Redskins? I mean the Commanders.
$6 billion. This will be the highest sale of a franchise in NFL. And you think they will sell for $6 billion? What's the Cowboys? What's their worth? I mean, you look at teams like that who have really more solid brands than the Commanders do.
Yeah.
I will say, Tim, when I become a billionaire, not if, but when, you won't be able to tell me how to spend my money either.
Wow. Really?
Hey.
You can be my agent, though.
Oh, there we go. See.
I'll be a concierge or whatever.
For a billionaire.
Yeah, drive or whatever. But
you'll be in the
Tree
circle
Tree actually has a point. I mean, it's these guys' money.
Yeah.
So and that has been one of the issues with the Rooney Rule. We could jump up and down, scream and shout, but how are you gonna tell somebody who they can hire?
You can't.
You can't.
But these cats are telling you who we are not going to hire, and and it's so weird. They always see teams come out and say, "We're not going to, we need a quarterback, but we won't get Lamar Jackson."
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
I know he may not be, he's not awful. There's some awful quarterbacks that have gigs out there. There's some really bad ones out there.
It's only a handful you would take over him, and Aaron Rodgers would not be one.
Right.
At this point in his career. So anytime you have leapfrogged Aaron Rodgers in the pecking order, you are still way up there. So, we will keep our eye on that. But this hour jetted by. I mean, a fun hour. I want to thank Jerry Bembry for stopping by to visit with us. We had a great conversation with him. Best of luck and be safe on the roads this weekend in Texas, Jerry. I want to thank Tree McDougal, my co-host, along with Tim Turner. You've been watching. You Get What You Get. Any final thoughts, guys?
Pray for me. I'm doing my half marathon this weekend. So,
yes.
Record set. I see a record set.
That's my final thought. I hope I can stay up Friday night to watch the basketball games.
Right.
Okay. We want to report next Tuesday, Tree, with some video.
Video and a medal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll see what I can come up with.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a good night. Peace.
All right. Good night. Thanks. Bye.